anyone getting in the industry now, you're lucky to have a program like what SDI offers. Before that, you had to go through YouTube University, go through all the pain of trying to search everything. Now it's in one place with great mentors.
Well, and then in your defense, David, you were 8 years old when you first got started. You wouldn't have been able to come here anyway. So hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of The Flight Path, SDI's podcast about everything UAS. Today, we've got two of the dudes here. We're missing Steve today, but we've got James McDonald's and Don Heon. How are you doing, guys?
Real good.
Outstanding.
Good. Hey, our guest today, I think I met him maybe like 4 or 5 years ago at a drone show. It was either CES or like a COAV or something like that, but he knew us from the gun side and he was like, what are you doing here? And then, he showed me what he does and it's amazing. So, without further ado, David Hahn Jr., founder of K9 Defense Technologies. How's it going, David?
Going great. Thanks for having me.
Do you remember what show we met at?
That was at AUVSI San Diego, I think. That's a while back, but
that was a wild one. There was protesters there and everything. That was the first time.
Yeah, there were protesters
I'd ever seen protesters at a drone event. So I was like, oh man, I feel just at home at a gun show, at a gun event. So anyway, David, tell us a little bit about yourself and about K9 Defense Technologies.
Sure. So I'm David Hahn Jr. I'm the founder and CEO of K9 Defense Technologies. We're a hardware-first defense technology startup focused on the UAS space. So we build a range of tactical drone products and really anything that an individual soldier can carry. We're working on product sets for that.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's a world I have no clue. I don't go around those sections too much because I'm typically stuck at the booth. But James, talk to us about it. What do you know about it?
As far as drone defense technologies, well, there's a lot of interest in that right now because of, obviously what's going on in the conflict in Ukraine. And we need more American-made systems here in the United States for that industry for sure. So when we, first got to meet David at one of these expos, it was amazing to first of all, just hear his knowledge, hear his background, and just having the amount of knowledge that he has to be able to do this. Do you have a team, David, or is it really just you, if I can ask?
Yeah, right now we do have a team. We're a small team of 5 right now.
Well, even be able to do what you do with a team of 5 individuals and also not just running a company, but having the knowledge that you have to design, build, and fly these aircraft all together as a whole is pretty awesome. You got to know a lot of things. You got to know a lot about a lot of different things in order to make it work in the way that you have, which kind of leads me to another question of how did you get started with this, down this path of innovation?
I've always been a builder all my life, but it's kind of a crazy story, which was I was a pyromaniac growing up. So I started with ever since I was young, the first things when I started to learn to read was reading my rockets. I just had an obsession with anything that flies. I love rockets, and then the natural course of progression there is mixing dangerous things and blowing stuff up in your backyard. That's how I started. And in retrospect, they were borderline IEDs. It was bad. Thankfully, I'm very blessed to have good parents. My dad looked at that and he was like, "Hey, what if you build drones? It's reusable. You're not gonna lose all your allowance money building something and then watching it burn." And then from then on, I'm already into pyrotechnics. I look at drones. I'm like, what if we build? What if I build a military drone? Was really the first thought I had. I was like, I want to work on. I wanted to work in the defense industry, and this was back my middle school years. I just already knew I want to work in the defense industry, and I thought, what if we take commercial off the shelf hobbyist parts and kind of what are the defense capabilities we could bring out from this. And this was pre-Ukraine. I know that's been kind of a common thing now with Ukraine. Everyone knows, oh, you could strap an RPG on a FPV drone like that. But that was kind of a novel concept back when I started. So I started with like building a ISR platform, see where that goes. And as I was posting these projects, I got actual people from the DoD reaching out, interested in what we're doing. I was not a company then. I was doing this all in my bedroom. And there was a point where I thought, hey, I want to take this off. So
What were some of your first projects that you worked on? Like, what were some of these ideas and things that you had brought up?
believe it or not, our current product line is what I've been working on since the end of high school. So actually that's the first prototype I built in my bedroom. It's called Valor. It was like a stealth tactical drone concept. It was way too out of my league at the time. It would have been a very expensive system, and I couldn't get early customers because they didn't trust, somebody building this out of their house. So we started working on the Genesis line, which was actually the test bed drone, the simplified test bed drone for a more advanced system. And I've been just iterating it ever since then, and then built out the small team out of that.
Can you talk to us about the specs on the drone for those watching?
Sure. So Genesis is a open source tactical utility drone, as we like to call it. So we're focused on two things, which is flight time and payload. So everyone's building small FPV systems, or they're building very expensive, larger assets. We're building something right in the middle. We like to call it like the minivan of tactical drones, which is it's not the coolest thing, but it gives you the most performance per the dollar. So where anytime soldiers need to drop payloads, strap payload on, and they need to fly for near an hour, that's when they choose our platform.
Honestly, if I may comment on that's cool. Like, despite the fact not focused on the cool factor, that's the reality of the situation, though. The cool factor only lasts upon the initial, meeting with the aircraft or initial use of the aircraft. After that, it's all about its usability and its versatility of usability, and it really sounds like you've already figured that out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's been a lot of small iterations along the way, but I think we made the right bet from the start.
Can I ask how long did it take, to, and how many iterations did you go to until you found something that you, as a creator, like, felt comfortable with, like, putting in the hands of somebody else and saying, all right, fly this thing, test it out.
Honestly, I never felt comfortable. Like there wasn't a point. I guess my first demo with warfighters is when got a boost of confidence. So I just went in people in the business sector kind of were not suggesting the approach I did, but I feel like that there was merit to it, which was I just went in full honesty. With full honesty, I would just bring like duct tape prototypes, go to army demos and be like, hey, like I built this myself. This is jank. It's probably going to crash. But most of the time demos went great. They loved it. They loved it better than other systems. And just being honest about it and then kind of gaining the trust and then building that iteration cycle of feedback to prototype to back out to demo to feedback and just making micro adjustments along that process is how kind of we iterated the product.
That's one thing that's always impressed me about you is that you have the hustle, but you're also not afraid to approach people and talk to people. And, to be able to sell a product that 100% about, it goes a long way to just, be able to handle questions, when somebody challenges you on something or, well, we'll do this and do that. I mean, for like, how old are you?
I'm 21.
Yeah. It's just crazy to me. When I was 21, I mean, I guess I've always been outspoken, so I'm just not as smart. So I never had an invention. I've never been afraid to talk to people. But it's just amazing that at your age you were wanting to get into the defense industry in middle school. That is crazy to me. So Don, did you have those kind of aspirations when you were in middle school and even at 21?
I was a little bit of a lost soul in my teenage years. So David's far better off than I was. And then, once I got out of the military, I went to college and my life sort of went a different direction. But I had no ambitions early on in my teenage years. Unlike David, man, if I would have set my mind to something, wow, like 21 years old and you already have a company and you're building defense drones, that's pretty impressive.
It's
Thank you.
huge, honestly. I'm sorry, didn't mean to step on it, David. I gotta ask because I love the mindset that you have on the approach of development of like, hey, you're not trying to necessarily present something that's perfect. You want to present something that has usability to it, and you want to get that feedback. Like, my question is, what got you into that mindset? Do you find that you always had it, or is it something that you kind of just developed over time?
Um, can you kind of elaborate on the mindset? So like, um, do you mean like
So the mindset
confidence
of like,
in approach?
imagine like, well, not just approaching, but more like, so a lot of companies don't want to necessarily present something to be used until they feel that it's like fully ready to, right? Like what you said, what you had, you had something that was duct taped together. It wasn't necessarily about the presentation. It was about getting the feedback and getting the honest, like the people that you intend to use this thing as a tool, like getting their feedback sooner rather than later. Like there's a dichotomy of mindsets, like a different styles of mindsets there that goes into development. Like what made you go down that path, if I may ask?
So I would say I'm blessed to have really good mentorship from my dad. I mean, he was extremely supportive of me taking on this path, and then from there, like he taught me what he believed was it was kind of contrarian in the industry, but he believed that this is the right approach. And while I'm young, this is the best time to take risks, right? And I think there's also the aspect of my dad's the one who really inspired me to not go down the typical venture path. So we didn't like raise venture capital. So I was forced to be extremely capital efficient. And when you're forced to be capital efficient, you don't have the ability, you don't have the luxury in a way to sit on investments where you could perfect the product and then launch it. You just have to, you you got no choice. Just gotta go out in the world with whatever you have and see where it goes.
That's awesome. So I gotta ask, why the name Canine Defense Technologies, if I may ask?
So that was actually very intentional. I started to see, I think our approach is contrarian. Our name is contrarian in a way because typically I felt like a lot of drone companies' names get too cliche. They have to do with flying or like flight or whatever. I love dogs. I think they're the best animals in the world. um, but
100% agreed.
and I started to draw this. I started to draw this connect. I'm sorry to all the people who like cats. A lot of people in the drone industry like cats more.
Weird.
But
I did
I
not know
started to
that
draw
was
this
a
connection.
thing.
Yeah. A lot of nerds love cats.
Yeah.
But the I s- so as much as I love science, I'm also like a big guy, like big nerd in history. Like I love history, and something that I remember reading extensively about was how animals are used as a metric of technological progress. So for example, when we stop using horses, when we stop using cattle for like locomotion to move things, that's an indicator of advancements in technology. But I thought what's really fascinating is that dogs have integrated with humans where they're not only companions, they're still mission sets they fulfill that no other animal can. Like for example, narcotics detection, law enforcement. Yeah, robot dogs aren't taking their time, taking their job for a while. They've, it's just a really unique interaction. And I was like, I want to draw the analogy of I want to build technologies that, the robotic companion for soldiers that they could depend on, out into the future. And the second thing is that everyone asks what we do all the time, so it's great marketing.
Well, your
That's
cards
awesome.
themselves are great marketing. Don, you have one of those. You just show it to the camera.
It's like I don't know. It feels like a real thin piece of metal. And then on the back, it's
It's a
got some
printed
QR
circuit board.
codes and stuff. Yeah, it's really cool. It's like, man, you can't lose this thing.
Yeah. And it leaves an impression, which is perfect. That's exactly what you want to do. And it's cool. I've got a bunch of your stickers, so thank you for that. I put them all over my luggage. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. I have a bunch of SDI stuff all over my bag. Our refrigerator has a SDI magnet.
Yeah. Hey.
Well,
yeah, we're working together.
Well, you know what we need to do next, Christian, is we all need to print out one of the Genesis frames and now have them in the background for our offices. But we need to get some additional components as well for those. So
hey, hit me up. Hit me up.
So
there you go.
We got the right guy right here for it.
Speaking of components, I mean, you're a business owner, you're a developer, you work in the defense side. How much of a struggle, or a struggle at all, has it been trying to acquire the right electronics to support your business and build growth and development in the drones that you're making? Because I know the logistical supply chain can be challenging to navigate sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually, I would say, on the back end, the logistics end of the business with drones, electronic supply chain is the hardest part. It's extremely volatile. You know, scares through whatever geopolitic thing happens, you'll see immediate market response like within 24 hours. Like it's like we've gone in situations where certain components we have to swap it within a matter of a week. We have to keep switching suppliers. I mean, it's always a challenge. Thankfully we have really, really good partners. I strongly believe in partnerships. Like our closest partner right now is Arc Electronics. They make made in the US drone electronics, and then they kind of front end all the challenges on individual chip supply chains and things like that. So like our approach was we are kind of our company is kind of a architect on the end product, but we don't focus too much on trying to engineer every single individual component. We partner with companies and we integrate and just move fast.
Yeah.
What do you think everybody is looking for? Like when you're saying, hey, I want to focus on these few things, what are those things?
I mean, are you talking about like the drone itself?
Yeah, the drone functionality. Is it functionality, cost, like what functions? What are they looking for?
It's hard. I mean, I could speak for my particular market. It's like actually it's very similar to firearms. As in there's different things for different customers, different mission sets, different end users. We're kind of I'm focused on a particular narrow path on defense and infantrymen. Like that's kind of our core focus. In that sense, they're really looking for the lowest cost system that provides the most payload flight time, and really mission adaptability. And then on top of that, because of regulatory reasons, secure supply chain. So anytime the Army or Marine Corps purchase something, they have to ensure that you could provide that product for many years to come and that it doesn't depend on any foreign adversary supply chains. Now, if you're trying to build like a consumer drone or something, it goes to like, end users are very cost conscious. They worry more about video quality, price, things like that. Yeah.
So
James, what
I
do you
have a
got?
question.
All right.
Main question I got here is that, understanding what your company's focusing on and that narrow market that you're looking at there, and it's a big market despite it being like just one lane of the possibility of applications of drones there. What made you want to kind of like go towards, open source style architecture, for like what you did for the Genesis series of aircraft? May I ask the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's one of the most, I would say, craziest decisions we made. A lot of people still like that's literally the thing people ask me when I meet them. Why did you open source? It's a very, very foreign concept, especially in the defense industry. I felt like if we just entered the market with our quadcopter, we're just another company offering a quadcopter. It had to be something different. I do think our core product, the the format of it is different, but I mean, it's hard to kind of prove that. And I felt like open sourcing was the best way to kind of open a broader market and interest, and also kind of give back to the mission adaptability part. So like a problem I saw with a lot of other drone vendors is it's not to say about the specific companies or leadership or anything like that. It's just the structure of when you start mass producing a lockdown product, you're forced to keep it locked down. You're forced to, you have customer service backend, you have supply chain. It just gets extremely complicated. So they have to lock down the product, and end users are unhappy because they can't adapt it. They can't even repair their drones in many situations. And I thought, as a small player who could take large risks, what if we give it all out for free and see what happens? And it's been immensely great for our growth and traction. A lot of Army units print our drones. They're building it, and then they're like, "Hey, do you have any that are fully built?" And we come over and say yes and ship it.
So that's awesome. I'm very much a believer in the open source side of the community. Been working with Ardu Pilot and PX4 since, I want to say, like 2011, when the original Pixhawks came out, and just
Oh
love
yeah.
to see the community involvement and the growth throughout the time that it's been out in the industry. And then, then there's even manufacturers and people who build circuitry around it, and opening the open source architecture inside of it as well. And like you said, when you make something available for a community to use, they intend to try to adopt it more. And then you get, besides what you said, more interest in it, like even more feedback on it as well from the user base even. So I find it really awesome that you were able to do that for your aircraft, and, getting it out there. And even cooler that the Army is actually printing and using these things as well, besides them having to just come and purchase them from you, as far as the airframe goes. So that's really awesome. I gotta ask though, because the Army situation, that sounds like a win, like a nice little win for K9 Defense. But I want to ask, like, what are some of the big wins that you've had with K9 Defense so far in your time running the company?
Our biggest wins are, I would say, so we're doing a lot of it in stealth. So you'll see us roll out announcements with that very soon. But I would say the biggest win is defense is a extremely hard industry. Breaking in with, your main customer being the government. It's even one sale in it is a big deal. Just getting in it is really hard. I'd say 2025 was a big year for us, where uh a lot of people are skeptical in the open source approach because it's so foreign in the defense sector. Um, you know, even the airframe size, things like that. Like, there's a lot of skepticism there. But then I think this year we got a lot of war fighters actually trying out our system, using it, and then getting in line in the procurement process. That's been a huge win. That's really the hardest part of this business.
Talk to me about how that process works. So, I know you go to a lot of these events. I'm sure you're reaching out on your own to, different units, Army folks, whatever. How do you do a demo? Do you go to them? Do you do a virtual remote thing? Talk to us through that process.
So we do, it's on our own dime, but we actually go out to bases and demo with end users directly. That's been the most um, valuable way of getting traction. When I'm at like industry events or whatever, that's where I met all of y'all, which is great. That's more for actually partnering with component manufacturers. End users are A lot of end users for drones are disconnected from the drone industry. They only deploy systems that they're told. They don't really know much about what's going on out there. So talking with the warfighter, getting these drones in their hand and seeing what they think is really the fastest way to kickstart into getting procurement.
One of the reasons I think DJI and Autel and those lockdown, as you say, drones were successful is because, you don't really need a user manual to operate it. It's just sort of intuitive. And I think a lot of people sometimes can be a little bit scared of open sourced ecosystems because there's so many parameters and, the interface is complicated. Have you found any challenges with what people are looking for when it comes to like the interface and the ease of use things? And have you implemented certain things that make it easier to use for the end customer?
We did. It's it's funny you bring that up because we run PX4, and a lot of drones run PX4,
Yeah.
and it's funny to go out of demos, and even though both drones, our drone, other vendor drones are running PX4, um, they like ours, they don't like the other one because of just a few parameters, right? It's essentially the same thing, but that's something that I learned the hard way, which was, as a drone developer, we tend to think, oh my gosh, more features we give, more selling points, it's cooler. But what the end users want is the DJI or Autel experience of turn it on, it flies. If it's low on battery, it comes back on its own. That's all they want. So I always tell people the bar's low, the bar's really low. Like what people want are very simple things. So actually, our platform's open source. What we ship is pretty locked down in a way, as in it's I brought it down to 4 operations. If you know 4 steps, you can use our platform. But if you want to do more, we're actually publishing that very soon. We documented all the different parameters you could change. So it's like some military units have really good drone labs, internal like innovation teams where they want to play with every parameter. They can do that on our product. But for 90% of end users, we ship with the base features, make it just extremely reliable, and they're more than happy with that.
What I like about what you're doing is that you look at the customer experience first and you work yourself backwards to the technology. It's kind of very similar to the way Apple has done things for years, but I think it's super successful when you can, take what it is the customer wants and then go back to, the bench and then make that product for the customer.
It's the best approach out there. I have seen a lot of companies that, sure, there's an intended application use case for it, but like you said, they're over engineering for it. They're trying to make something that is overcomplicated to the end user, to what they expect the end user to actually know. And like, this is a big thing I've seen being involved in flight testing with companies, where there is a disconnect, just like you said, from those in the company developing it to, and even flying it, testing it, to those who are considered to be the end users, who are actually just going to pick this thing up, power it on, and send it on its merry way and let it do what it's supposed to do, or fly it as they intend to fly it. Like, what you're doing is truly looking at the end user first and always, and putting it through. And I think that's an approach that more, I'm not saying other companies aren't, but we should see being a more prominent focus in the industry for sure. I think it's so cool that you're doing that. It's in a personal opinion, and just from what I've seen in the industry, that's just the right way to go about it. And truly what we should be seeing more, because you're right, it garners more adoption of what you're building and more usability of it. But you do it in an awesome way,
Mhm.
because it doesn't limit the user as well if they choose they want to dive deeper into it.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Well, let me ask you this. Ha- Now that you have a presence in the military, have you, or maybe you have you ever tabled at like a military defense expo or anything like that? Like had your own booth, tried to sell that way rather than, going to an event for components and networking in that regard?
We haven't yet because I found out that like working individually with units, like that's it's funny that a lot of companies that go to these army expos or military events, they're looking for that eventually. In a way, we already feel like we already have that, so it's like
Yeah.
we're already working with the end user. So I think that's more for there's some, as you scale, there's some lobbying involved. There's some like, larger, context, kind of working up the contracting office. I think that time will come. We're still in the stages of trying to grow and trying to, go product first, products that are prescribed by end users rather than us prescribing something. So like, I didn't really see a need for that yet, but, it will come down the road probably.
so I gotta ask, what is your end goal vision for canine defense?
End goal vision is so I think that the
It's a
the
very
pie
broad
is
question.
large. Yeah, the pie is large, like the market's large. A lot of startups and companies try to say, "Oh, we'll be like the next Apple in defense," or like we are gonna dominate the whole thing. I don't see it that way. I believe in partnerships, collaborations. I think that having multiple players in the same industry is healthy. I just if I had my own kind of greedy vision, the next 10-year plan is I want to be one of the major players providing, uh, drones to warfighters, civilians, focus on the U.S. market. And I want to go beyond that. I want to see, like, I want to build a lot of systems that are the technological like bridge between firearms, like individual personal arms, with like high technology, like different kind of products we could build in that space.
So something that is almost like an everyday carry, if you will, or maybe
Yeah,
something that someone like that you don't necessarily want to leave it at home, and they feel it's pretty vital to their everyday use.
yeah,
That's awesome.
but in the defense context.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, just like every Marine a rifleman, every airman a drone pilot. Like no one leaves the forward operating base, or, no one leaves without having one strapped to their pack, if you will.
And I don't know if we brushed over this, but how did you learn all this stuff? Like, what's your educational background? What kind of stuff did
Oh.
you do on the side to learn what you know how to do now? Take us through that.
It's called YouTube University.
There you go. There's a lot of YouTube University gunsmiths out
Yeah.
there too. I've met. So
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean it's learning through the internet mostly. So I mean, I'll be honest, I wasn't great in school. I didn't enjoy school. I was the guy sneaking out to build stuff. So
and blow
um
stuff up.
my and blow stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And my parents encouraged me to at least finish high school. So I did it with a GED. So I just took the GED, which is like a government test equivalent to a high school diploma, and then opened up an LLC and then just started this. Um, I think on the technical side, I learned through the internet a lot and experimenting. On the on everything else, it's just actively just reaching out to people, talking to people, grow that network, and then like get a lot of kind of you know bits of mentorship in a way from people around, right? People who've been through it, people who've been supportive. I've been extremely blessed to have a lot of great people in this industry that kind of help me out, get me started. And there's just tremendous learning value there that I don't know how else you would learn. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, your dad has been a big support. I've talked to your dad a handful of times. Super cool dude.
Yep.
And we've talked guns a lot. And, just take us through a little bit of, what your dad has done for you in regard to support, and then cool shooting stuff that he's taking you out to do that he's told me about.
Definitely. So he's like a very principled approach guy. And he's really pushed that impression on me, and I credit that a lot. Credit his mentorship there a lot to help me grow this in the right direction and the vision I have. And also he's been through a lot of the hard experiences of growing a business, things like that, ahead, and giving me the privilege to know that in advance so I don't have to make the same mistakes. That and you know, he helps me make a lot of critical decisions. He's just been an incredible, blessing. He's right now our chief operating officer, so runs the back end admin, helps negotiate contracts, work with the warfighters on the procurement side. It's been a tremendous blessing. In terms of the firearm side, I mean, I think that's what got me into the defense mindset. I wanted to work on national security. I grew up around guns. My dad is a big firearm enthusiast. I am a big firearm enthusiast too, but he's a bigger one, like, always reloading ammo, doing all kinds of crazy, like he makes his own precision ammo that's
Yeah.
just it spoiled all of us with we did a lot of precision long range shooting and like you know we've been spoiled with custom rounds, the craziest rifle setups. Um, that got me in the mindset of, growing up with firearms, like I wanted to work on technology, but what's the next thing after firearms? What's the next you know, weapon system? I wanted to work on that. So that kind of set me in that direction. Um, and another thing is firearms is how I would say helped me get a lot in with the military too, is that drone companies are approaching it from the tech side. Warfighters like guns. They talk guns. They love it. And being the guy going out to different ranges, talking with vets, and be like, oh, guns are cool, but also do drones. And they're like, oh, we need drones. Here's a contact. Like that's grown, spread out and really come back to me in a positive way. So I credit a lot to what we're doing with, my love of firearms that, was brought down a generation through my dad, things like that.
Don, what do you got?
I was just my brain automatically goes to the technical side. So, because I'm a nerd, just like James and David. But
Love cats? Do you love cats, Don? Do you have many cats? Do you have?
I had some cats. I had to get rid of them, but I had some cats. So with your system, you're using open source, and obviously you're using radio frequency, like radio transmitters. Have you ever thought about doing optical, or is that not even on your radar? Like, I mean, fiber optic. Like, is that not on your radar? Have people asked for that? Um, Give us kind of a breakdown on the sensors that you use for your drones, and radio communication protocols, anything that your technology that you're using in your system.
Yeah, for sure. For Genesis, our attritable system, we use commercial off-the-shelf radios. So we're using, ISM band, 900 megahertz band for command control telemetry, and then typical 5.8 for the video, just
Okay.
analog. So that's standard. Fiber optics, we've worked with them. You can incorporate that to our system. I think everyone's focused on fiber optics. And we have spools of fiber optics literally in our shop here. I have a very different perspective on it because I've worked with them in the field on demos, which is how fragile they are. And like the failure rate was pretty high from our own testing with warfighters. It snags a lot, it snaps a lot, and at least from the conversations I had with guys out in the field actually using the fiber optic system on the U.S. side. I mean, Ukraine has like really perfected it, but they have their own tactics and concept of operations. In the perspective of U.S. ConOps, I personally see fiber as kind of a supplement, but not the way forward. I think that autonomy is what's going to ultimately take over. So drones that will only transmit, autonomously at certain times, but fly completely RF silent for most of the mission. I do think, Don, you were mentioning, is optics on my radar, like optical navigation, things like that. It definitely is. We're working on various things with that. We have some partnerships to announce regarding that. We already kind of future-proofed that on our platform with we do have an optical flow sensor, so if you jam GPS on our platform, it'll still hold position, right? But that's kind of like baby steps toward ultimately the drone can see and know where it is.
Right. Yeah, baby steps, like you said. You gotta work one problem at a time.
So I gotta ask, right? What out of all of the work that you've done and out of all the learning that you've done, what would be like 3 skills or 3 specific skills that you would say that has helped you the most as far as in your journey of development for drones?
So 3 different skills. So you mean like particularly on the technical side or generally?
Let's say technical side.
On the technical side, 3 different skills. I think the first skill is you should be for me is actually being able to build every part of the drone, on the hardware side, like being able to solder, being able to run a 3D printer, the basic skill sets, like just being extremely proficient in that was really critical for me. I meet a lot of even founders or people in drone companies who are only able to do one part of the task, but being, even if you're not the best in a particular task, if you're good enough in all of it, that's extremely valuable. Second thing is being really hacky. So, being satisfied with flying something with duct tape and then telling the end user that, being honest about it. I see a lot of people get tunnel vision on trying to build something perfect and they never get it out. I mean, they're doing amazing work, but you can never ship something perfect. Like just knowing that and being like, hey, this is what it is. At least it flies. Let's see what, having that hackiness to it. And then third thing is, I guess it kind of connects with the second one, which is simplifying everything. That's been actually really hard. I've been learning it a lot more, but like it sounds counterintuitive, but the simplest solution is what wins at the end. It's what's most reliable, most economical. Just go, we as we get technical, we tend to think broad, but just narrowing it as much as we can to what's the core concepts and just helping build toward that.
I got to follow on to that. Would you say it's for that third part and agree with you on those skills, but on that third one, would you say it's hard to reach that point, or it's simpler than what we're trying, or would you say it's simpler than we're all trying to make it out to be?
I think I think on the technical side, it takes more maturity and experience to be able to simplify something. It's not something you could just naturally get. Um, it's I'm gonna bring a firearm analogy here, but then think about the AK-47 or 1911. We're still using it. It's still gonna be in use for probably another century. Like the ingenuity about it is simplified manufacturing, the reliability that comes from it. But if you think about those designers, the extensive experience they had to have to get to that point, um, yeah, it takes experience, and there's a lot of my mind goes complex trying to think of how to simplify things, right? Already. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of pain and learning to get to that point.
I'm gonna bring on an Elon Musk quote, and he always mentions that trying to optimize a part that shouldn't be there in the first place is the wrong thing to do. So
Hmm.
breaking down to your core components, what is it that needs to be successful, and then refining those is a great approach.
For sure.
So I know, you've been you've been kind of pressing that, hey, just put it out, develop something, see where it goes, and then adapt from there. I know that's a big piece of advice, but if you had an additional piece of advice for our students and our listeners, our viewers watching, what piece of advice would that be?
For students and viewers, I'll have to think about that. It's not something I could like immediately because I have
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of things I want to say. I think
What- Break it, put it down to like the 98 most important skills that they should know. Just joking. One or two.
yeah, I think so. If I was like entering the drone industry again, starting all over, I think I think a lot of people I see getting in don't know exactly what they want to work on. That's fine. That's perfectly natural. So I think being able to explore a lot of things and adapt, like, adapting your skill sets. So like a lot of my friends getting into UAS, taking on a UAS degree or training, they don't know if they want to pilot these systems. They don't know if they want to build these systems. They don't know if they want to do a combination of all of these things. It never hurts to ask around people in the industry. There's great people here, who want to help you out. Get your hands dirty and then see what you really like, what you're passionate about, and then from there, you want to have the ability to focus on that. Again, going back to simplifying it. Don't try to be don't try to take everyone's job. Where do you fit in, and where can you bring the most value to yourself and to others.
That's awesome. Yeah, James, where would be a great place to start in getting your hands dirty and learning about the multitude of options you have in the UAS industry, and then figuring out where you want to go from there?
That's a hard question. Isn't there a place? I think it's called SDI, like Sonoran Desert Institute or
Oh,
something like that.
why would that be? What?
I don't. Maybe we have drone programs. So what a certificate and associate's degree program, where the associate's degree program specifically gets you into, as David said, it introduces you to everything really at a good entry level. It's flying, design, and then also even on the management side and flight operations too. But then from there, you can kind of take it and specialize to whatever you find is the most interesting out of all those aspects to you. I would
Yeah,
say
'cause
that's a good starting
sometimes you
point,
don't
but
know what you
there's
want
also a
till
ton
you
of
know
different
what
stuff.
you can get.
Yeah,
There
very
you
true.
go.
Now,
That was the
I was
perfect.
I do
That was the
I
perfect
do I do think
in
it's great.
podcast read. So sorry, what was that, David?
I do think that the SCI program is great. I mean, I've actually shared it to multiple people who wanted to get into this industry. I mean, something I'm kind of jealous of anyone in the program is I didn't have that when I got started. It didn't. SCI was just in, gunsmithing, that kind of thing. But when I first met, well, back then it was Chris and James, and then I got to meet Don again later. But originally, that was like a shock to me to see SCI doing UAS, and I think that was a great move. Anyone getting in the industry now, you're lucky to have a program like what SCI offers. Before that, you had to go through YouTube University and go through all the pain of trying to search everything. Now it's in one place with great mentors. So.
Yeah,
Well,
and
and then
it's
in your
all
defense,
online.
David, you were 8 years old. So when you first got started, so you wouldn't have been able to come here anyway. So
No, I was 12. I think it was
that's
12 or
Dude,
13.
even
Yeah.
12.
that's still that's
Even
still
12 and
ridiculous.
doing all that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Back then, I was building nothing near what we have now. 12-year-old me would have been like super happy. Back then, it was more crashes than actual flights, and burning my fingers, soldering, and hurting myself, not knowing what I'm doing.
The tools of the trade, and you got to start somewhere. I get it. Listen, when I started like flying radio control aircraft when I was 14, the first 3 aircraft I had, up, nosedive, down, crash. Fly, fix, fly, repeat. So yeah, I get it. It was definitely it's a lot of learning. You learn a lot through failures, which I think really, as far as learn a lot through mistakes as well, which kind of gets to the matter of like not being afraid to go out there and show what you got, because then you learn from that and you can make it even better for the end user, like you were saying earlier. So it's pretty cool on that. Like, but I gotta ask, like, what kind of advice from you would you give to someone looking to get into the industry? Like, where would you start? I mean, obviously there's the school route, but what other tools and resources are out there that they can also expand their learning on, or even get a little more niche on as well?
I think I still encourage learning online a lot on like what's so unique about the drone industry is that it's literally built on top of previous open source work. From the software to the hardware stack to full architecture. I mean, it's basically Betaflight, iNav, PX4 RD There's a few other forks and whatnot, but then based on that, everything's kind of centered around, okay, these are the softwares, this is the hardware architecture for it. Now, you have all the free creative range on the airframe. I think it's so incredibly valuable to whether buy a dev kit or FPV kit and just start building and flying and crashing. And I emphasize crashing a lot to people getting into this. It's normal. You're supposed to crash. If you're not crashing, something's wrong with you.
Well, hey, I agree with that. Even our design build fly course, we say it in one of our assignments. We're saying like, hey, if it doesn't make it through all the flight validation, that's not a failure. It's learning. It's part of the process. You just go back to the drawing board, find out what's wrong, make it better, and then try to do that flight validation again. It's awesome. But so Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to comment on that and says, so because David says you need to crash and something's wrong with you, should we rename our course to Design, Build, Fly, Crash, Repeat?
Oh yeah.
Fly, fix, fly, repeat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, that's the
We should
motto, though.
revisit that. Not sure if he'd be good for marketing though, Christian. I'm not sure if we'd
Right,
have a
yeah.
time selling that one. But okay, I gotta ask, like, if and this is more of like an industry wide question. If you could just, have a wish, talk to a genie, or wave a magic wand, and fix one major industry bottleneck within the UAS industry, like what would it be?
If I could change one thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's this is gonna give me a lot of hate, but I think it's if drone purchases were like like procurement of drones was determined by like actual product quality. Um, I see a lot of things that should not be fielded that are fielded simply because, uh, they hired a good sales team or something. Um, it's I don't know. UAS is it's a young industry. I like to tell people it's a very young industry. So it's like things that would not be sold in the quality and specs where it would not be sold or marketable or profitable in any other industry right now is in the UAS industry, but simply because it's young. I think that'll change on its own over time. Maybe give it 5 years to 10 years. I don't know.
That statement was not for haters. I'm a lover of that statement because I agree with it because like you're right. It is a young phase. So right now there's still a lot of like hype around the market, but in reality, like overall like utility versus like cost analysis, or like you said, the quality of the product versus like what the procurement actually is, it's still a lot of variability to it. I know we had a recent recording where we were talking about like we need more manufacturers, we need more developers, we need more people like you that's actually focused on the end user of it all, like that being the main focus. So I agree with that 100%. Don, Christian, what's your guys' take on it?
Oh, I was just going to say I agree too, because my dad bought a $80 Amazon drone and he said, oh, well, it was $80. It's got to be good. And, he arms it, takes off, flies into a tree, never picked it up again, like in the
Yeah.
trap.
Well, good
And
thing
I'm
it was
like,
only $80.
you
You know?
should have called me.
No, I think
Christian?
you said it earlier. Some of these guys, they're just told what they're going to fly. They're told what they're going to do. That's kind of the military way in certain aspects. And so if you've got somebody who's sold them something good quality, but it's not the best, but they had a great sales team, marketing team, or it's just kind of who you know. And then that trickles down and say, hey, this is what you're going to use. And then you've got somebody with the base knowledge of like, we probably should be using this because of this, instead it might not make it just because they're not the decision maker. So
Yeah,
I totally get
and
that.
that's a big problem, and I actually bring up the firearm analogy a lot to that, which is that a faulty firearm is a big deal. Like that's scandalous, right? That's kind of what's happening in the industry right now. Sometimes, which is like I tell people like these soldiers are depending their lives on a drone, and not only soldiers, even civilians too. If you're in search and rescue, you're in law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
These products have to work to what they're advertised to do. I mean, there should be a higher bar on that. But right now, again, the industry's young. Customers are not well educated. Even people running these companies don't fully understand every part of the product. So, I think though, James, you were saying that if I had one wish and it could magically change. The good news with this is a wish that I think will naturally mature and you know f- get itself fixed.
You beat me to my next question, which was, do you think over time, as more people gain more experience or more exposure, or there's more lessons learned, not just through individuals, but also in the industry as well, that they'll reach a similar level of what you were talking about earlier, where that level of expertise will eventually translate into simplicity and reliability and ease of use down the line? Do you think that'll happen over time naturally? And if so, how long do you think that might take if you could be a future teller, if you will?
I think I mean this is like kind of, I don't mean to black pill, but I think probably a decade. Just because parts of technology move really fast, but change moves really slow. That's kind of the nature of most industries. So I'd say a safe bet it's like a decade. I do think that the market response eventually will, you know, vet out good products and bad products. It's just probably the biggest gap right now is customer education, which is why things like, your program's so important, is that um, most people don't know the difference between a DJI drone and a Predator drone that's blowing up tanks, right? When they hear drone, they think of a Predator drone, and then they think of a DJI Mavic, and they think it's all the same. Like, we're still in that level. It's like when before the iPhone, there were other companies making smartphones, but they're too early. Like, people didn't understand it. Surprisingly, we're still kind of there. As there's been a lot of change. There's a lot of change happening now, but we're still kind of, we're still in the infant stage.
Yeah, it's like what you made the analogy for, like before the iPhone. Like yeah, there were Palm Pilots, but
Yeah.
not a lot of people use Palm Pilots before iPhone. Then iPhone made it mainstream. So, and right now, like obviously, a lot of people compare like DJI to the iPhone of drones, but it can't just be one company anymore. We've got to have that same level of quality from a multitude of companies and makers and developers. So I agree with you 100% on all that.
I think I might have to redact one part. You just mentioned DJI, and
Mhm.
I'm like, actually, on the consumer camera drone side, we've
Yes.
already crossed. Yeah, we already heavily crossed that. I want to specifically say in like defense, agriculture, law enforcement, like that side is where a lot of these guys don't understand the difference between an FPV drone and a DJI drone, like things like that. Like that's gonna take some time. But if there's another DJI, that's American or some other country, this dynamic's going to keep changing. I think safely we could say full maturity stage. I would bet like a decade, but maybe it could happen sooner. Who knows?
Well, wrapping stuff up, I mean, what's next for Canine Defense? Yeah, what do you see yourself doing?
Gonna see us come out with a lot of new airframes with fulfilling mission sets that I think other airframes aren't.
Follow-on question. Anything VTOL quad plane or fixed wing?
Uh, n- no fixed wings yet.
Okay.
Maybe in the future. I do want to do fixed wings. I've been wanting to do it for a while. I have like off the shelf fixed wings. We do some prototyping and R&D on. But in terms of building fixed wings ourselves, the manufacturing process is something that we have to go totally different route. So I think once we scale, we will. But don't expect that anytime soon from us yet.
Copy that. We'll keep an eye out though.
Right.
Yeah, keep an eye.
All right, David. So non-drone, or I guess non-canine defense questions, just fun questions. If you weren't building drones, what do you think you'd be doing?
I'll be doing underwater robotics.
That's
Just a
crazy.
crazy pivot, but yeah, I was building those prototypes too, but saltwater corrosion and water pressure is a pain, so I gave up on that. But if I'm not doing this, I want to go back to that.
What's one tool in your workshop you couldn't live without?
I have a Radio Shack multimeter back when they existed. It's cracked. The dial's gone. It never dies. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's a smaller one, but I used that since I was in elementary school, and I cannot live without it. It just, for some reason, it's my go-to tool every time. It's just always with me.
And then, do you have any drones you just fly for fun? Like, do you even
I have
fly
a
drones?
lot.
Okay. What's your favorite one?
Yeah. I have a. I might open source it for fun, but I have a little, kind of, I like to call it like the F1 car of FPV drones. Like, I built like a super locked in, optimized setup for really fast cornering and fast forward speed. Like, I go and fly that on the weekends all the time. Rip around Bandos here around Huntsville. That's my favorite.
Yes,
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
then what is favorite place you've gotten to travel because of all this stuff?
Favorite place, Colorado. Being out on just there's something special about desert ranges, and you have airspace clearance to 2,000 feet, and you could do you could do kinetic stuff. Like you can put C4 on drones and blow it. Like it's one of the coolest feelings ever.
All right, guys. You guys,
It's
James,
awesome when
Don,
you
you got
don't have a
anything?
low altitude limitation.
It's what?
Nothing else. Nothing else for now. I say, sorry. It's so cool
Don, you
when you
got
get
anything?
that altitude space clearance limitation. Oh,
Yeah, for sure. But it gives me a heart attack because I've never tested. I tell them I've never tested a drone that high because we're not allowed to fly that high.
got it.
Right.
Sorry, I got nothing
Well,
else. I promise, Christian.
Don, you got something?
No, just that it was an absolute pleasure to have you on this podcast. I love nerding out with fellow nerds and talking about systems. So, absolute pleasure to have you on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
David,
Thank you all. It's always a pleasure talking with all of y'all, and I can't wait to run into you guys again in the future.
yeah. We'll see
Yeah,
we'll
I
see
look
you
forward
probably
to
at
seeing you next
AUVSI is the
person.
next big one. So
Probably.
unless you're gonna get into SHOT Show somehow, maybe I'll see you at SHOT Show. Who knows? Yeah.
I'm gonna try and get in this time, because that's more for the gun stuff. Because I missed it last time, and I really want to get in this time.
It's a lot. So if you can make it in there, it's a lot. You'll see a lot of cool stuff. But yeah. So David, thank you. If you want more info, well, how about that, David? How do they find you? How do they connect with you?
If you look up K9 Defense Technologies, it'll all come out. We're on Instagram, X, and LinkedIn mainly. You could also check out our website at k9defense.tech. It's K and the number 9. So
Perfect. And if you want more information about our programs here at SDI, go to sdi.edu today, hit request information, talk to admissions representative, and get all your questions answered. But David, thank you again. For John, that's James and Don together. For James, Don, I've been Christian, and this has been The Flight Path. Everybody wave bye.